Rockers in Recovery Media is dedicated to carrying the message of addiction recovery through music, news, events, and festivals taking place within and not limited to the clean and sober community. Rockers in Recovery Radio is based on opinion only and is not meant to treat or diagnose any health or mental health issue of any kind. If you feel you need help for any health-related issues, please contact a physician or mental health professional. The opinions expressed by our guests are not necessarily those of Rockers in Recovery.
Hey, good morning. Welcome to Waking Up Blessed, a radio show that is, of course, airs through the Rockers in Recovery Network. You can find us at rockersinrecovery.com. You can check out the show every morning, posted at Rockers in Recovery on Facebook, and we always pin the current show to the top of the page so that way you can find it and navigate it easy. So we want to thank everybody for tuning in. Of course, the goal for the show here is to start today with inspiration and hope, and we do it through all types of different things, maybe health and wellness interviews to guest stories of experience, strength, and hope. And, of course, this particular show is one of several that we produce on the Rockers in Recovery media platforms and radio platforms. So you can check out the sponsor for this show, which is SoberMap app. It's an app that you can download on the App Store and Google Play, and you can access 12-step meetings in your area or if you're traveling, and not only here in the United States, but all through South America and in Europe. So check it out. You can go to SoberMap app at the App Store and Google Play. In the meantime, we, of course, here at the show want to thank all of our listeners and everybody that's been tuning in and following us. You guys rock. And our guest this morning is a great guy. His name is Lyle Freed. And Lyle is somebody that has been a good friend to me, and most importantly, I really respect his recovery, and I think that one day at a time he has really come along to help so many other people with his message, and he's a really blessed dude. So the bottom line is that we're here to be able to, carry a message of hope and show people that, life is possible, and waking up blessed is where it all begins each day to start a new day. Lyle, welcome to the show, brother.
Thanks for having me.
Listen, man, we I'm so happy that you're on. Well, last time we were on, we were talking about the Haiti thing, and you were on as a second guest, and I wanted to highlight your message today because I think it's really important for people to understand, that there's more to recovery than just going to 12-step meetings. They're all great, and that's something that I have to be involved in me personally. But there's so many other things that we can do to enhance our spiritual growth and other things. And I'm going to start out with just the first question, which is, what does waking up blessed mean to you?
Another opportunity to have another day to do God's will. Every day is a blessing. I have a saying, and some of my clients they repeat it for me as they ask the question, how are you? And my answer is always better than I deserve. I look at what God has given me in life, and really all of us. If you're able to listen to this show, that means you probably have electricity or access to electricity, and there's so many that don't. I was blessed to be born into a country. Quite frankly, when I was homeless, I was eating better than some folks in other countries. They're at the higher echelon of their community. So, I could eat out of a dumpster and eat better than some folks do. So just recognizing those blessings and appreciating what you do have and counting what's available to you, looking at what you have rather than what you have not, I think is how I wake up blessed each day.
Yeah, man, it's the opportunity that you just talked about, all of those things, it's like a bucket list of gratitude, you're making that gratitude list, and when you look at all of those things, health, the things that we go through with our loved ones or the things that we go through personally, and, our health and all of those things, a lot of times we take that stuff for granted until one day we realize that, it's really fragile, and you have to really take care of yourself and other things. So it's I think that one of the things that I really appreciated, I think more than anything with your message, is always that it's the same message. It's always about, listen, you can achieve more, you can go deeper, you can learn more, and you can help yourself more. One of the other questions I have for you, and I seen a post yesterday that really made a lot of sense, and we're going through some things in health crisis and things like that with a family situation with Lori here. So one of the posts that I had seen yesterday was that God is God's not Santa Claus, basically, to paraphrase it. Can you elaborate on that? Because I think that,
sure. I think you're referring to the one where I said, that God's not actually here to serve you. It's really the other way around.
Absolutely.
We were created.
Can we talk about that?
Yeah. Sure. We were created for His purposes. I mean, there's a few scriptures that allude to it in particular. One of my all-time favorite scriptures is in Philippians, in chapter 3, verses 12 through, really, it goes through 16. But Paul is saying, not that I have yet achieved perfection, but I press on to lay hold of that for which Christ Jesus laid hold of me. In other words, God made me for a purpose, and then He saved me for a purpose. I have things that I'm here to do. I'm not an accident. I was fearfully and wonderfully made. God knows from the beginning of time what His plans were for me. Now, I may or may not walk in those plans, and that's part of that. In the 12-step process, we ask for God's, for Him to show us what His will is and the power to carry it out. And that's part of our prayer process in the 12 steps. And so that's key, knowing what He wants from you. We exist for Him, not the other way around. We do tend to think of, I have someone close to me who said, I don't know if I believe in God because I prayed to Him for something and He didn't answer. Well, what did you pray to Him for? If it wasn't in His will, then it probably wasn't the best thing for you. And that's where we get kind of messed up, I think, is we think that we have an idea of what's best for us, and we minimize God. In other words, if I look back on my life, I've been through some horrible, horrible situations. Every one of them worked for good. And that's just another scripture says all things work together for the good of those who love the Lord and live according to His purposes. It doesn't mean, or are called according to His purposes, depending on which version you read. So it doesn't mean that all things are good. It means that all things work together for the good. So the tragedies that I've endured, the pain and suffering that I've experienced have all helped me to grow. And if nothing else, it's driven me to my knees and the feet of Jesus. So for me, that's what it took. I was a very self-fulfilled, or at least so I thought I was for many years. I used to have a kind of a running joke in my former business that I would accomplish something, say, man, I'm good. Never giving God the credit, until everything was taken away, and then suddenly I needed Him, and I think that we look at in the Old Testament, the Israelites are a wonderful picture of that. Every time they would be abundantly blessed, they would kind of forget about God. They'd wander off. They'd get taken into captivity. They go, oh, wait a minute, God, we need you, save us. And He would, and we'd go through this cycle again. And so even if it takes us to the end of ourselves and brings us to the feet of God, then those tragedies are worthwhile, because there's no better place to be than in His presence. Now, would I like to be hyper-spiritual and always feeling His presence and living in His will without tragedy? Sure, I would love that. I've yet to been able to achieve it, but that would be wonderful. It's just not our nature. And so I think He allows tragedy in our lives. He allows difficulties in our lives, sometimes just as a course of our own behavior. Sometimes we created it. I ended up, I get the disease concept of addiction. I teach it, I preach it. But the truth is, I made some decisions along the way. Yes, I had horrible environments that I was in, and I had been exposed to things, and I had a genetic predisposition, all those things too. But still along the way, I have to take responsibility and say, I created some of these problems, but God saved me from them. And so, I used to play this game in my own head where gosh, if only. What if I had, gotten clean at, 16 instead of 36, What if I had, those 20 years, 30 years extra of my life back? What could I have accomplished? And I think, what would I have done? I probably would have been self-sufficient again, living without God. I might have had more money, but I'd have had less soul. I wouldn't have had a spiritual walk, which is much more meaningful than my bank account. There's so many things I wouldn't have. I wouldn't have ever met my wife because I met her in a church I went to because I was in recovery. The things that if you really look at, it's not a ripples in a pond, it's a spider web. The things that we experience in life work in ways that we can't even fathom until years later. And again, I was abducted, raped, and left for dead in the Everglades. That sounds like a horrible thing, but I can tell you that it was monumental in drawing me close to God and helping me to understand forgiveness and his ways of working and how he had already worked in my life. And it was a miracle I survived. So his presence was real to me in a way that never had been before. That was worth it. Would I want to do it again? Heck no. But the fact that it drew me so close to him made it well worthwhile. I wouldn't undo it. Wouldn't choose to go down that path again, but I wouldn't undo it either. So I think that's really kind of what I trying to get people to see, that, first of all, when we're living for ourselves, that's vain and empty. The scriptures tell us that it's better to give than receive, and it says it in many ways in many places, and that we're to love others, and that's what gives us fulfillment and completeness and makes us more into his image, is loving people, not loving ourselves. God's world is upside down from what the rest of the world tells you. Everything is backwards. Self-seeking is what the world around us tells us to do. Get more for you, get yours, get on top. He with the most toys wins. He with the most toys, when he dies, he still dies. And if all he's got is his toys, they ain't going with him. So the world tells you a lie, and it's that you get by getting, and the truth is you get by giving.
I'm so glad that you shared all of that, because the importance to me right now in my life is that, no matter what circumstances are going on, I have to have faith that in the end it's exactly the way God wants it to be, and whatever the outcome is, it's really God's will, not mine. And to let go and to just have that concept in your life and live it can definitely bring us some fear at times. So how do you deal with when you're going through that and you're trying to keep that faith and you're trying to understand that, hey, listen, this is the road that you're on right now, and it's going to be okay, and in the end, whatever's going to happen is going to happen. That's God's purpose for me. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that fear and that anxiety? What would be some things that you would do?
Well, part of it is remembering what he's done in the past. He's been faithful. He will always be faithful. So looking again at that ability to look back and say, the things I asked him to deliver me from at times that he didn't. And then at the time I couldn't understand it. Listen, there's nothing wrong with asking. You look throughout most of the scriptures, and the heroes of the Bible have all questioned God and his actions. The book of Job is nothing but him going, hey, what the heck is going on here? What are you doing? And God's answer at the end was, you're going to have to trust me because I'm bigger than you are. I created the universe that is so vast and so expansive that if you traveled at the speed of light, it would take you millions or billions of years to reach from one end to the other. So trust me. You were barely able to make an omelet this morning. I created the universe. I have the power to do what's right. So trusting him and seeing his faithfulness in the past, that he's plucked us out of other situations. And also, then again, understanding that we don't see the whole picture. We have such a small view of such a big God. So, I used to use with my clients this analogy of there's two trains coming around a bend, and, they're about to hit head on, and I'm the guy that's supposed to pull the switch, but it's not working, but my son's with me, and he can go out there and hold the track while I pull the switch, but then he dies. Do I sacrifice my son and then save the people on these 2 trains. And, the usual Christian answer is, well, yeah, Jesus, God gave his son, so you should give yours. And, well, wait a minute. What if my son has the cure for cancer and will save millions of lives rather than hundreds of lives? Well, then by all means, you let the 300 perish and save the millions. Well, wait a minute. What if somebody on one of those trains, So the fact of the matter is we don't know what he knows. And that's what faith is all about. Trusting him even in the things that don't make sense. That doesn't mean we enjoy it. Again, if you look throughout the scriptures, David throughout the Psalms is crying, Lord, why have you abandoned me? Jesus on the cross, in the garden, he said, if there's another way, please take it. There's nothing wrong with not understanding and crying out to him and saying, Lord, I want it to change, but your will, not my own. And then trusting that there's something bigger than you can see when you can't see it. I can never see in the midst of my pain and suffering or watching someone I love suffer, I can never see it. But later on, in hindsight, inevitably I will see it. And the other thing is that we look at everything so temporal. Our limited view. He's looking at eternity. Yeah. There are times where my life was at risk. And I'm saying, Lord, sometimes I'm saying, Lord, save me. Sometimes I'm saying, Lord, take me. Why do we cling so tightly to this life when we know that what comes is better? It's free of tears, free of pain. There is no disease. We're at one with him. It's so much a better life. Why don't we race to the gates of heaven rather than clinging to what's on this planet? I don't know. Maybe it's because he built us for purposes that we have yet to finish. And we want to know that we finished the race well. We want to hear, well done, my good and faithful servant. We want to do as Paul said and run the race to the end. Be a drink offering poured out where there's nothing left in us but to go home. And quite frankly, none of us, I think, ever achieved that. I think it was D.L. Moody or it was Billy Sunday that had said, what would happen if the world ever saw a man wholly committed to God, and yet he never has. We've never seen anybody. No one's been capable of that. So we all have things left undone, and maybe that's why we cling to this planet. I don't know.
Good stuff, man. I want to thank you so much, Lyle, for being on the show and being a part of Waking Up Blessed. In closing, I ask you that if you could, there is such a understanding that there's such a rigid understanding in our 12-step programs, in our 12 steps themselves, with some people that say, hey, listen, this is the only way possible. And I'm starting to find in my life that the 12 steps over the years have led me to other things that I find soothing to my spiritual growth and a relationship with my God. And if I don't continue to seek God and build my relationship with him, however that is for me, and that's personal for me, and that's, through Christianity and Jesus Christ, I want people to understand that it's okay to go further with your spiritual growth and seek out things other than, the 12-step philosophy. There's other things out there. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And the 12 steps were meant to include and lead you to that. As a matter of fact, I was just talking with someone yesterday who had been walked through the steps with Clarence Snyder, one of the guys who helped write the big book and actually opened the very first AA room. And he was talking about another guy that is now gone. And the guy who'd come into Clarence was being in a group that Clarence was leading, and he said, I'm starting to see the spiritual side to AA. And Clarence said, hold on a minute here. There's no spiritual side to AA. It's the whole thing. The whole thing is spiritual. The outside, the inside, the circumference, it's all spiritual. So if you're not pursuing a spiritual aspect through your 12-step work, you're probably missing something, since it's supposed to be woven throughout the whole thing. I mean, it starts out with God, and it ends there as well. I don't think that you can successfully do the. Don't get me wrong. the practices and principles of the 12 steps are valuable, whether you're including a spiritual component or not. I just don't believe that they're complete without it. And certainly it's not meant to be, I mean, I know that the early founders of AA did a lot of spiritual work other than and including it, the 12 steps. And I think they wanted the rest of us to do so as well.
Is there an answer to the person that is sitting in new recovery, or just coming in or just coming back that says, I don't want to hear about God, and they're sitting in a 12-step meeting that says, as a spiritual awakening at the end of this, as God as we understand him, God's mentioned all the way through the steps. The understanding that, that person saying, I don't want to hear about God. God has nothing to do with it. I don't believe in God. What do you say to that person?
That's it. That, you don't have to. God believes in you anyway. Just stick around, do the work. It's amazing. I don't ever believe that I force God on anybody. I believe God is a gentleman and invites you in. Whether you choose to walk in or not is certainly up to you. But I would say hang out, do the work, because you're right. There's a lot of resistance coming early on. But God does what he does, and he does it the way he does it. And sometimes it's very blatant. The other thing I would say is, what do you got to lose? I mean, in the big book, they say, if you want what we got, then do what we did. If you don't want what they've got, then don't do what they did. It's really simple. If you don't think that life of recovery, if that life of wholeness and completeness and lack of control by a substance is for you, then don't do it. There's certainly no one holding a gun to your head. That's probably not the best attitude, but I try and love people right where they are and say, listen, we care about you and we want you to be well. You do what you can do and do the parts you're willing to do now. And we'll hope that you come around and do the rest later.
There's a really cool retreat coming up, and it's the 88th Leesburg Retreat, Came to Believe. And it's a spiritual awakening retreat that can really help people. And I've been there. I've gone there and went through the process. So I understand that each time I have gone, and I'm getting ready to go May 18th through the 20th, it has opened me up a little bit more to understanding of the steps and myself. So, as a yearly retreat, so to speak, it enhances my recovery. What would you say about the whole Came to Believe Spiritual Awakening Retreat in Leesburg, Florida?
Well, it is. They hold it twice a year, spring and fall, and they have others around the globe. That's the original one that Clarence and Grace Snyder started back forever ago, and it's still continued on by some of their sponsees and sponsees and whatnot. So we do it in this coming May 18th through 20th, and then again in November. It is where you walk through the steps the way the old-timers, the original guys who wrote the book, did it. And that's, we do it all 12 steps in one day. You get exposed to and understand and experience the complete 12-step process over the weekend. And then you hear a lot of great talks from folks who have already been through it and have, had some good amounts of clean time. We get people in there with 40-plus years, multiple decades on there. When we count up everybody's time, it's phenomenal. So you get a lot of experience, strength, and hope. You get other folks coming in there telling their story and where they were and where they are now and how they got from A to B. And again, just that experience of the 12 steps and that spiritual awakening that they talk about. And it's a beautiful weekend and a beautiful environment with oak trees and a huge lake. And it's just a really, you can, if you're looking for a spiritual experience, it's a great way to do it. And at the same time, it gives a good understanding. I've had a lot of folks that came there with no clue really what the 12 steps originally were meant to be. So their sponsor had convoluted and twisted the steps around on them and told them, you can't start, you're not ready. People waiting a year to do the steps and stuff like that.
Yeah,
the old timers did it in a day or two. If you're sick and there's a cure, let's start. If there's a pill that's going to cure you, you're going to leave it sitting on the counter for a year? No, start taking it today. So it's a beautiful retreat. I highly recommend it.
Very cool stuff. You can check out Lyle at, of course, at Lyle Freed on Facebook. You can also call Lyle if you're interested in a retreat. Lyle, would you mind giving your number so that way people could call you if they wanted to find out more?
Sure. My cell phone is 772-332-8711. Again, that's 772-332-8711. It's going to be a great time.
And this is going to be held in Leesburg, Florida. And you can go to cametobelieve.org/Leesburg_Florida. So you can check that, or FL. You can check that out at cametobelieve.org/Leesburg_FL. And there's more information there. And, of course, if you just check out, cametobelieve.org, there's a lot of information on that. So one of the things that I would ask everybody to do is check it out. Might be something that you want to, come to with some of your sponsees, or maybe something that you're new in recovery and you want to check out personally, or you might have a family member that's suffering and you want to come and see what the 12 steps are all about. But it's available, and we invite you.
And it is family friendly, just so you know. There is an Al-Anon component, so the family gets to experience it as well, and there will be child care provided. So it is really a family experience.
Beautiful, man. Well, listen, Lyle, again, thank you for being on Waking Up Blessed and being a part of Rockers in Recovery and all of the support that you and Darlene give to, of course, Rockers in Recovery and our platforms and our new show here, Waking Up Blessed. Great message today, and thank you for being on the show and sharing it with us.
Thanks for having me. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, thank you. All right, guys, we are looking at a great day ahead of us and a great message of hope from Lyle this morning. We get to continue forward and forge forward and have faith. And understand that even in the times of trials and tribulations, we have to, stand firm and have faith and understand that his big picture is a lot bigger than ours. And I appreciate Lyle's message this morning. Comforted me and gave me support. I hope it did the same for you. You guys have a great day. We're going to play a song, Practice Makes Perfect by Doc Holliday. And you can go to check out Doc Holliday's music at Doc Holliday on Facebook. Check us out at rockersinrecovery.com. And thank you to Sober Map app on the App Store and the Google Play Store. They sponsored today's shows. You guys have a great day. Thanks.
Every time that I gave and gave up, swore that I had had enough, ended up broken on my knee. And every love felt like a game I couldn't win, and I found the strength to start again. Keep believing. Every time I smile when things got tough, push myself and wouldn't stop. I was finding out I was made of. We gotta learn to live somehow. It might hurt right now, but practice makes perfect. Yeah, and it's worth it. There's nothing you can do.
Rockers in Recovery Radio is based on opinion only and is not meant to treat or diagnose any health or mental health issue of any kind. If you feel you need help for any health-related issues, please contact a physician or mental health professional. The opinions expressed by our guests are not necessarily those of Rockers in Recovery.
Lucky Land Casino, asking people, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
Lucky? In line at the deli, I guess?
Aha, in my dentist's office. More than once, actually.
Do I have to say?
Yes, you do.
In the car before my kids' PTA meeting.
Really?
Yes.
Excuse me, what's the weirdest place you've gotten lucky?
I never win and tell.
Well, there you have it. You can get lucky anywhere, playing at LuckyLandSlots.com. Play for free right now. Are you feeling lucky? No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
See care in a new light at Madonna Rehabilitation Hospitals, where top medical minds lift you up, where the very best in specialized rehabilitation brings out your very best, where over 60 years of breakthroughs in research and technology spark your newfound strength. In our world-class hospitals, this is something greater than rehabilitation. It's renewed strength for life. Learn more at MadonnaRehab.org.